Zacchaeus was the chief tax collector in the bustling city of Jericho, a position that made him both wealthy and widely hated. In first-century Judea, tax collectors worked for the Roman Empire, which allowed them to charge extra fees for their own profit, making them seen as traitors to their people and corrupt sinners. Standing just a few feet tall, Zacchaeus was physically small, but his reputation loomed large. The crowd that gathered to see Jesus as he entered Jericho would have pushed him aside.
You demand too
not
much.
Just
this
because
is
of his
unjust.
height, but because
the
they
tax
wanted
is the
nothing
law.
to do
Pay
with
it
a
now.
man like him.
Corrupt
Desperate
snake.
to catch even a glimpse of the one everyone was talking about, the teacher who healed the sick, ate with outcasts, and spoke of a kingdom of love, Zacchaeus did something unexpected. He ran ahead of the procession, his robes billowing as he hurried through the narrow streets, and scrambled up a sycamore fig tree that grew along Jesus's planned route. It was an undignified act for a man of his status, climbing a tree like a child, but his desire to see Jesus outweighed any shame he might have felt. When Jesus reached the tree, he didn't just walk past. He stopped, looked up through the broad, glossy leaves, and called out by name, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." The crowd gasped in outrage. How could the holy teacher choose to spend time with a man so deeply tangled in greed and betrayal? But Zacchaeus' face lit up with joy. Jesus had seen him, not just his reputation, not just his small stature, but him. He scrambled down so quickly, his hands still dusty from the bark, and welcomed Jesus into his home with open arms. In that moment of acceptance, something shifted in Zacchaeus' heart. Standing before Jesus and the murmuring crowd, he declared, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus smiled and said, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." A tree of sinners, sycamore trees were often grown in low-lying, fertile areas near Jericho, and their fruit was considered common or even unclean by some religious leaders. It was a tree associated with ordinary, imperfect people, a perfect backdrop for Zacchaeus, the outcast, to meet Jesus. A tree of humility, climbing it required Zacchaeus to let go of his pride and social standing. He had to lower himself to lift himself up enough to see Jesus, a powerful metaphor for how humility opens the door to spiritual sight. A tree of new life, sycamore trees are fast-growing and produce abundant fruit, even in harsh conditions. In Zacchaeus' story, it represents the new life that blooms when we turn to Jesus, a life of generosity, repentance, and belonging.